so we thought. Suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri. The friendly neighborhood ghost is here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game. What she doing, what she playing. Everybody playing cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition. Can't see through them like apparitions. Determined to bring only the best. Get in the way, be her guest. Riri, the ghosty girl, steals your body, steals the show. Klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all the more to Riri, the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri, the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri, the ghosty girl. Just a normal day or so we thought. Suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri. The friendly neighborhood ghost is here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game. What she doing, what she playing. Everybody playing cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition. Can't see through them like apparitions. Determined to bring only the best. Get in the way, be her guest. Riri, the ghosty girl, steals your body, steals the show. Klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all the more to Riri, the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri, the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri, the ghosty girl. Just a normal day or so we thought. Suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri. The friendly neighborhood ghost is here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game. What she doing, what she playing. Everybody playing cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition. Can't see through them like apparitions. Determined to bring only the best. Get in the way, be her guest. Riri, the ghosty girl, steals your body, steals the show. Klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all the more to Riri, the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri, the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri, the ghosty girl. Just a normal day or so we thought. Suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri. The friendly neighborhood ghost is here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game. What she doing, what she playing? Everybody play cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition. Can't see through them like apparitions. Determined to bring only the best. Get in the way, be her guest. Riri, the ghosty girl, steals your body, steals the show. Klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all and more to Riri, the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri, the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri, the ghosty girl. Just a normal day or so we thought. Suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri, the friendly neighborhood ghost is here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game. What she doing, what she playing? Everybody play cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition. Can't see through them like apparitions. Determined to bring only the best. Get in the way, be her guest. Riri, the ghosty girl, steals your body, steals the show. Klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all and more to Riri, the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri, the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri, the ghosty girl. Just a normal day or so we thought. Suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri, the friendly neighborhood ghost is here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game. What she doing, what she playing? Everybody play cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition. Can't see through them like apparitions. Determined to bring only the best. Get in the way, be her guest. Riri, the ghosty girl, steals your body, steals the show. Klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all and more to Riri, the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri, the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri, the ghosty girl. Just a normal day or so we thought. Suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri, the friendly neighborhood ghost is here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game. What she doing, what she playing? Everybody play cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition. Can't see through them like apparitions. Determined to bring only the best. Get in the way, be her guest. Riri, the ghosty girl, steals your body, steals the show. Klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all and more to said it's Riri, the ghosty girl. Just a normal day or so we thought. Suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri. The friendly neighborhood ghost is here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game. What she doing, what she playing. Everybody playing cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition. Can't see through them like apparitions. Determined to bring only the best. Get in the way, be her guest. Riri the ghosty girl steals your body, steals the show. Klutzy and a little forgetful, but meeting her is unforgettable. She's a scream queen that can scare the soul, but guides all wandering souls back home. Give your mind, body, all and more to Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. I said it's Riri the ghosty girl. Just a normal day or so we thought. Suddenly lost control, now you're caught. What is going on? Well, can't you see? You're under the control of Riri. The friendly neighborhood ghost is here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game. What she doing, what she playing. Everybody playing cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition. Can't see through them like apparitions. Determined to bring only the best. Get in the way, be her guest. Riri the ghosty girl.
Hello, ghosties! Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Yeah, it is a late night. I'm sorry. Dinner took a while. Hello, Crafting Gamer. Oh shit, Stream Elements on YouTube? What the fuck? Huh. Maybe there is hope. I will have to try that. Hello, Average Joe. Hello, Milk. Hello, Million. Hello, Ver. No, we're not painting minis today. I'm painting them tomorrow. The title says learning. Learning how to paint minis. We're watching videos to prepare for tomorrow. Hello, Sally. Thanks for being the first soul. Hello, Dan. Hello, Honcho. Hello, Matt. Hello, Evil. Thank you so much for the visa for 17. Wait, 33 months. 33 months. Okay, Didi, welcome back home. I did get some Turbo Dork paints. I limited myself. I only got 3, 4. They were pricier, but 2 of them I was like, I can use these for many situations because they were kind of like golds and like a gold chrome and like a blackish one. But yeah, they seem to require a lot of mixing. But yeah, hi guys. Happy Friday. I wasn't planning this originally, but my nails are driving me insane. So I am going to work on my nails while we hang out and watch videos. I'm almost halfway done through with filing. So bear with me because you might hear the fan like really loud. It's on right now. I imagine you guys can hear it because it's quite close. But give me another like 10 minutes and the fan will come off and we'll be all good. I was gonna do them my nails on like Sunday or something, but they are just so long and it's driving me crazy. And I was like, there's no shot that I'm gonna be painting minis in these nails. They're driving me insane. So I was like, you know what, we're gonna be watching painting videos. I will just do a quick paint job real quick while we're chatting, so I can file them down a bit and not feel so incapacitated. Is that the word I'm looking for? No, I move on Friday. I move on Friday. So I have a lot to do actually, but I didn't want to cancel stream because I know next week we'll probably only get like shit 1 or 2 streams in before I move, and then we won't have any until the week after. So yeah, I didn't want to skip. Plus I need to like watch a bit about how to paint. I feel like it'll help to watch right before. And what's funny is I know I watched this Squidmar video before, but I don't remember shit. Because I watched it very early on, because I was like, oh, I'm going to get minis and paint early, right? And as you guys see, it's taken a little bit of time. Can this black fucking file off? Holy shit. There we go. Oh my god. But yeah, apologies for the first like 15 minutes or so. You guys are gonna hear this fan noise. Sorry. No, it's I have a fan on right now. And so you guys are hearing the fan. The mic, I did have to change out the cable. But here, if I turn the fan off, it should sound normal, right? Oh. Did I press off? I did. Okay. Hi Lucid, thanks for the sip. And thanks for the follow, Dreadnought. Yeah, see, now I sound normal, right? Sounds pretty normal. You might hear the buzzing of the drill. But yeah. So yeah, apologies. You're gonna have the background noise. You're gonna have the fan for a minute because I'm using an e-file to file my nails down. And I'm using like a drill file to file my nails. So it should only take another 10 minutes to do my right hand. Maybe a little bit longer because I'm using my non-dominant hand to do it. But we're gonna have some noise while I do this. Apologies, but just bear with me. We'll just be chatting. I'm not gonna play the video until the filing is done. So I don't want to fuck with that audio, you know? Sparks? There's no sparks. This is just an e-file. I'm filing my nails down. There's no sparks. Oh, you were joking. Got it. Hi, Paladin. Hello, Momos. But yeah, I watched, I did see this Squidmar video, but I couldn't tell you anything about it. So, I have 2 Squidmar videos. One is a bit longer, one is like shorter. Ow. Sorry. I should probably have my file go the opposite way, but I'm not. Actually, maybe I need a new head. Or I just need to apply some... No, I might need a new head. Let me try that. We do love a new head. My voice is so nice it overpowers the fan. Yeah, I wanted to try and find like some sort of noise suppression like software, and I got recommended some, but it was like so much money, so I was like, yeah, we're not doing that. We're not doing any of that. I'm sure there are like free tools and stuff, but yeah. Okay, okay. A new drill bit was the answer. I have so many drill bits for this, and I haven't like looked up tutorials and investigated them because I'm kind of intimidated. So for anyone that doesn't know, I have no formal training for doing nails. I've always loved doing my nails. I've always loved painting my nails. I've always been an artistic person. And then when I lived in Japan, I fell in love with gel nails and how creative they were, and they would do all sorts of shit on their nails just like I used to do. So I found a Japanese salon that I went to for a really long time, and then when I got laid off in 2023, I couldn't afford it. So for Christmas and my birthday, my family started me off with some basics that I asked for as a present, and I've been doing my own nails ever since. I've also I do my mother's pretty regularly as well, because, you know, she won't sue me if it fucks up. So yeah, I do my own nails, and that's kind of what we're doing right now, because I just couldn't deal with it anymore. Oh, you know what? I had to glue this one back on the other day. Hello, Dresthals. Thanks for the follow. Welcome to the Ghosty Gang. But yeah, so I'm just trying to file these down so that I can make them a bit shorter, because they're really long right now and it's driving me crazy. I need to really work on this thumb though, because I forgot I had to glue this one on the other day. It fell off before work. I smacked it on something. But yeah, how are you guys doing? Do you have any plans this weekend? How was your Friday? I know it's late. I'm not usually live this late. So I appreciate you guys coming to hang out with me while I am live. I know it's a weird time. Hello, Winky. Hi, Prince. Hi, Bobo. Yeah, noise canceling gate. Exactly, Paladin. That's what I was looking for. Bust out the angle grinder. Yeah, there are other, like, grinding... There are other tools that I just haven't used yet, but... I kind of trial by fire, because I'm like, well... If I hurt myself, it's just myself, you know? It's my own fault. But I have had so many people be like, wow, I love your nails. And I'm always like, thanks, I do them myself. And they're like, what the fuck? And I have a coworker who's like, so when are you gonna do my nails? When are you gonna come over and do my nails? And I'm like, and she obviously would pay me for it. She said so herself. But I'm like, girl, I'm not licensed. And she's like, the girl that I go to isn't licensed either. That's fair, but it's like 4 hours out of my day, you know? I don't know. I just don't know. I really like her, this coworker, but I don't know if I'd want to like risk it. You know, like my mom is willing to take the risk, but as soon as I start getting other people involved, like I need to look into like sanitation and things like that. I mean, I probably should with my mom too, but I always use a new drill bit. I feel like that's as good as it gets, probably. Painting Warhammer. Hi, Drez. Yeah, I'm learning how. I'm actually gonna do the painting tomorrow. Tomorrow night. Although I was debating, like, should I do it tomorrow night or should I do it Sunday morning? Because I feel like nighttime streams are a little rougher. Like, I feel like there's less people that can come to the late night streams, and the early streams would be better because like all of Europe is kind of asleep, and I feel like there's a lot of Europeans that come now for the Warhammer. So I was like, should I move it? Should I do it Sunday morning? Lighting's not really an issue because I don't have great lighting in my room. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move the lamp that I have, and it has a Hue light bulb in it, so I can like make it bright and like a bright white. I do need to try to hook up my work webcam to my computer to see if that quality is a bit better. I wish I had like a better quality camera for you guys so that you'll be able to see better. But unfortunately, I don't. So I think what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna try my work camera to see if that one's a little bit better than mine. And if it is, that'll help. And I'll just like, I have a sit-stand desk, so I could like raise it perhaps. So it's like a higher level, and that might help. Hello, Dread, how are you? Camera ring light. I used to have a ring light, but it broke, and I haven't bought a new one. I think my new office will have better lighting, but I don't know like what direction it faces or anything, but survive a divorce. Oh gosh, Dan, you're getting divorced? Oh shit, I'm so sorry. I hope that's going okay. Yeah, my other idea was to use my iPhone. So I have an iPhone. It's either a 16 or a 15, I'm not sure. I upgraded from a 13, so I want to say it's a 16 because I waited like 3 or 4 years for better tracking. And I think since I'll be like hunched over my model painting anyway, that I won't have model tracking. I'll just do like a PNG. So I could just use my phone. Those are all of my options. And I'm thinking my phone camera will be the best, and I can hook it up to the computer so there shouldn't be lag or anything, but I have some experimenting to do, which is another reason I was like, maybe I should move the painting stream to Sunday morning, because A, I won't be tired, so I'll probably spend more time painting, and B, lighting will be better, and C, I'll have more time on Saturday to like fiddle with stuff. Actually, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I really should just move it to Sunday. I'll start Sunday morning, and I don't know. The more I'm talking about it, to schedule it at 9 CST, 3 p.m. in the UK. In the morning, yeah. But that means I would probably need to be up by like 8 to set stuff up, which isn't early. I'm kind of an early bird, but I feel like 9 Central is too early for a lot of Americans. I think the key is to do it around like, start around like 10, and we yap and hang out, and then I'm painting by like 11, and that way people can like come and go and catch some of it. So I'm moving on Friday. Move day is Friday. I actually get the keys on Thursday. But I didn't want to use much PTO for it, so I use PTO only on Friday. And I've got movers coming in the morning. It's my first time hiring movers. I just like don't have enough friends to help out here. Last time I moved, like it was a friend of a friend, and man, it was a freaking struggle. And I said, okay, it's not that far, it's not that much stuff. I don't have enough people to help with like, mostly the concern is getting my desk downstairs from this house because it's on a 2nd story and it's very heavy, and it's like tight turns on the stairs. Like if we didn't break my desk, we'd probably dent the wall. So I just felt more comfortable hiring someone, and I feel like I got a pretty good deal, a referral from a friend, so I got $50 off. Yeah. And I don't have to accidentally hurt myself, which is also something that's very likely to happen when I'm ever involved, because I am quite a klutz. Okay, I'm just about done with this filing. Just about done. Sunday's the best idea. Can you take it apart? The desk? I don't really think so. It's a sit-stand desk that I made, and the like base is screwed in to the desk. So I think if you take it apart and put it together, it's gonna really fuck with the integrity over time. So I don't really think that it can be taken apart again, which is why I was like, you know what, I think I just need to bite the bullet and hire somebody to do this. My supervisor, actually, her son is a firefighter, and she was like, if you need to, I'm sure I could ask my son and his friends if they'd like to make some extra bucks, but I was like, that's very nice of you, but I think I'm just gonna go the route most people go, which is hire a mover. My friend did say, she's like, you're too old now, you gotta hire people. We're not college kids scrapping by anymore. And I was like, yeah, but I want to scrap by. You would always recommend some amount of movers. Yeah, it's my first time ever having a mover. I've moved a lot, but every time I move, it's been like, well, when I was younger, my parents would help. My dad especially. My brother. But there we go. But he's old and he's hurt himself, and so yeah. Okay. The drilling is done. The fan is done. Ow. Now I just have to do some basic filing. So file. What the fuck? Oh. Oh, do I need the other file? I thought I brought it. Oh. It's a divorce, I guess so. Still thinking positive thoughts for you, Dan, and I hope it goes smoothly and finishes soon. I have, obviously, well, I guess I shouldn't say that, like, I definitely could have been through a divorce, but I have not. I've never been married. And I don't think I know anyone personally that's been divorced, so don't have a lot of experience in that region. But it doesn't look fun for anyone, even when it's amicable, so yeah, big props to you, sir. Sending all the positive vibes. I am reading all of chat, but I'm also like shaping and filing my nail. Man, this one I think broke a while ago, so it's like such an awkward shape. That's my thumb. I just rounded it. Probably better. You got a mild cold? No. So she made. Aw, I'm glad your sister made soup for you. That's awesome. What a nice surprise. It's like the universe called her to help you and she didn't even know it. When you're younger, you don't have proper furniture. I mean, I do though, because I'm not younger. I'm kind of old. I'm kind of a hag. I know, like, people say that on the internet, but they're actually like 24. But it's a secret. But I kind of, you know, I mean, I'm totally just 25, but for sure. Might have a few years of experience on 21. 21. Thanks for the encouragement. Of course. I know that wasn't your intention. It wasn't my intention to, like, bring attention to it either, but when people drop nuggets about themselves, I can't help but A, be curious, and B, wanna send them love and support, so. God, the gotta hire people remark, yeah. Yeah, I have, like, in storage, I have my couch, which, this is such a, man, why are couches so expensive, dude? So, when I, first moved into my apartment I was in before I moved back home, I had bought a couch from the IKEA as is section, which is, you know, that's great. If you need some bargain furniture, IKEA as is section is fantastic. The problem is it's really not a very comfortable couch. It has served its purpose, like it turns into a queen bed. Like it's done great for me, but it was $300 like 5 years ago. And I want a comfy couch. But couches are so fucking expensive. So they're moving my $300 IKEA couch to the apartment so that we'll have like a couch. But I really want like a comfier couch. So I'm tempted to like go to IKEA and see if they have a nicer one. Or I know a lot of people use Facebook Marketplace. I'm just kind of scared like if the couch smells, but I guess like I would go. And maybe like between me and Rumi, or I do have a couple guy friends I can maybe ask to help me move a couch. Like maybe I could find one on there. Like I don't have a problem with a used couch. Because I do also like leather, so if I can find one, I don't know. Everyone is getting older or younger. You saw your old high school football team and you felt like they looked like elementary kids? Oh, that's so fair. I understand. You have a couch that you found in your apartment? Oh, like someone left it? That's crazy. You've learned how crap IKEA furniture is. I think they have some decent stuff. Like, they have some stuff that's, like, fully made out of wood. But, the thing is, a lot of IKEA's designs I really like. So, and they are cheap. Like, guess what? If you want a nicely designed thing, but you can't spend thousands, like, IKEA's probably your place, your best shot for something that looks good. But I'm also thinking like maybe I could get a good deal on a couch like at an outlet store or Facebook Marketplace. I've never been much of a Facebook Marketplace person, so it does make me a little nervous. You know? Have a good day with chat or with work. Oh my god. Hi, Dasby. How much is still left for paying off your couch? I do know some places, yeah, they'll let you do payment plans. So it's an option. I just don't want to do that if I don't have to. And I certainly don't have to, you know? Honestly, maybe more important than my couch is the fact that my TV that I own is... let's see. How old are you, TV? I'm thinking, how old is the TV? I don't know, 15 years old? The TV I have is like a 15-year-old TV. And I feel like, you know, how often am I gonna sit in a nice couch when my TV is like not nearly as nice as my monitor? You know? Like, wouldn't I just sit on my monitor when it's that much nicer? Maybe I should get a slightly newer TV that's a little brighter. I think it's a 32-inch is the one that I have. I don't know. I think the TV might be more important, but the couch is what I want. But we are coming up to Black Friday, so maybe I can get like a decent deal on a TV, you know, and have like a newer TV, just so I can like watch stuff while I clean, or maybe it'll help me proper like relax, because I'm really bad at relaxing. If I'm on the computer, I'm like always doing work with whatever I'm doing. So maybe if I have a TV that's enjoyable to look at, I'll actually like take a break, you know? 6K? Dang, you must have got a nice couch. Or a big couch, I guess. Is Black Friday as crazy as it looks in the vids? Not anymore. It definitely used to be like that. But, it's not that bad anymore. And honestly, I don't even think the deals are that good anymore. But you can usually get a good deal on like a TV, like a monitor. I think probably like, I bet you could get a good deal on like a couch or something. Like you can still find some good deals, but for the most part, the prime Black Friday days are definitely over. I also never did the whole like, I didn't really participate in Black Friday. I was always too poor. I would do like Cyber Monday a bit when it came out because you could get stuff you needed like on a good discount, but you get a new TV first. Yeah, that's kind of my thinking. Online shopping has killed it. Yeah, because basically Black Friday and Cyber Monday have just merged. And they even start like on Thanksgiving now, the Thursday before. So oh, my nails grew so long. What the hell? Okay, I'm almost done shaping these. I've got like 4 nails left to do. Bear with me, guys. I also know we've been listening to the theme song this whole time. I hope you guys don't mind. I didn't queue up any other music. Jeez, my nails have grown so long and they're quite uneven. They're running deals all month long. Are they really? You always wanted to see 2 grown-ass men. They wouldn't be fighting over a fan. They'd be fighting over like a lawnmower or a TV. It used to be, I think, like really crazy and really good deals like back in the day when it first started, before the internet, before it got like crazy. And now that it's so crazy, I don't think, like, it got really crazy and now we have the internet. So for the most part, I feel like no one does like really, really good deals anymore. Or they will, but it'll be like not necessarily super desirable items, perhaps. Online computer. Or I could buy more Warhammer. You'd be nervous about whether the previous owner kept it cleaned. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I would for sure clean it. And I think maybe I'd feel more comfortable with, like, buying a used couch off of someone if it was leather. Because it's a lot easier to clean and sanitize that. And I don't believe, like, any form of, like, bed bugs or anything can hide in leather. Plus, my cats don't fuck with leather. But they do fuck with, what's it called? Fabric. So that's another reason why I'd like a nicer couch, because my first cat, Naya, she loved the texture of this couch that I have, and she may or may not have like tore up one side. And it's like, I don't want to buy a cover because those are kind of expensive. I'd rather just put that money into a new couch. You'd think IKEA would have covers by now, you know? Like, you'd think they would have developed that, but we haven't had any novelty TV things. That makes sense. Yeah, I guess we haven't, huh? One of your coworker got a home theater couch for free, and they can't fit it in the main room without breaking out a power saw. That's crazy. I'm so sorry I missed that message, Milk. That's insane. Now, this is why you measure, guys. You gotta make sure you can get it through the door and it'll fit in the room. I wouldn't be getting anything like that big. Definitely not. It's like the saying, measure twice, cut once. It's kind of like that, but measure twice and don't cut. put a link to a miniature in Discord. Awesome. I'll take a look at it after stream. Thanks. Okay. Think I'm good. Yippee. Now, I think, let me get out my paints, my nail paints. Hi, Candy. How are you? Let me get out my nail paints and probably should wash my hands actually. Okay, let me get out my nail paints. Let me go wash my hands. Oh, yeah. Let me wash my hands first. I'm a bit dusty. Hold on. BRB chat.
Hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to be not as clumsy. The ghosty girl who goes to game. What she doing, what she playing. Everybody playing cool, it's the coolest of the ghouls. Strong will end, a lot of ambition. Can't see through them like apparitions. Determined to bring only the best. Get in the way, be her guest. Riri, the ghosty girl, steals your body, steals the show. Klutzy and a little forgetful.
Okay. Yippee! I was just gonna try to do something really basic, like a French sparkly French chromey thing, but I feel like that will actually take me quite a long time. Let me do this. Let me do this and this. Black Fridays at the mall. It wasn't an event in and of itself. Yeah, that's true. I would go out like in the early morning at like 6 a.m. just to like walk around. But it was never crazy by then. You know? It always died down by then. I might need this too. Okay. Hello, Fire Mango. How are you? Let's see. How do I want to do this? Oh, you know what? I could try this one. I could try this new. I haven't used this yet. This is my magnet. How would this look? Hold on, chat. I am. Maybe that should be like the under. Oh, I think so actually. Why is there a woman? I don't know, because you clicked on it probably. If you clicked on a woman, I can't help you beyond you clicking. That one's on you. Okay, let me see. I might do that. Hold on. Sorry, chat. I'm thinking out loud here. Give me a second. I just want to get all the colors out so we can swap to the other screen. And I won't have to worry about it. I thought that clicking on women would make capybaras appear. You know, that's a really interesting theory. I wonder where you, I don't know, came up with that one. I would be so curious to know. Why is there a ghost on my screen? You know, don't worry about it. Do I not have... Is this a magnet? Hold on. Surely that one is. Is it not? Is this one? Hold your dang horses here. Hold on, shot. What am I? I'm tripping. I'm tripping. No, this has to be. I'm pretty sure. Okay. You just got off work? Working on old laser burn minis. Oh. Has anyone ever attempted to hold a horse? You know, that's a good question. Wow, I just discovered a color that I don't really have. Should I do black? No. I was feeling like the white. I was feeling iridescent, actually, is what I was feeling. I do like rose gold. Well, what I was feeling, I've realized, is a color that I don't have, which is crazy, because I kind of thought I had everything. But apparently, I've discovered a shiny color that I don't have, which is just, I'm just blown away. Okay, so if I can't do that, then I need a plan too, so hold on. Okay, so don't hold horses, just hold each other. That's fine, right? Right, chat. That sometimes happens with your minis. I thought I had a cat eye magnet gel color that was like iridescent silver rainbow. And it turns out that I, in fact, do not have that. So, the circle jerk of Twitch chat? What's a circle jerk of... Okay, hold on. I know what a circle jerk is. I'm confused what that comment means. I was like, hold on, pause. I do know what a circle jerk is. Unfortunately, or fortunately. I don't know how you want to look at that. Let's see. Okay, that's the glow in the dark one. What's the base? Okay, so that one does need to be a magnet. Should I just use it? Sorry guys, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing all of a sudden. Well, you know what? What if I just do... I should have brought my other colors up. Oh well. We are just... Oh. We're gonna do this. And if I don't like it... You know what? Maybe I do this one. Hold on. I think this is a... Okay. I'll try that. And I'll try these. Alright. We got there. We figured out what I needed. Oh shit. Am I... Frick. Hold each other, and I tried to make it a joke. Oh. Sometimes I talk so fast that I just don't... I don't know what I'm saying. I mean, I know what I'm saying, but I just immediately forget what I have said. You know? Does that make sense to anybody? Hopefully. Hopefully that makes sense to somebody. But there's so many topics in my head that I just kind of forget sometimes the shit that I say as soon as I say it. Okay. Roger. Very ADD coded. I do think that I have a touch of the ADHD. I've never been tested. No one's ever brought it up. As a kid, I don't think anyone ever would have suspected. But as an adult, there are some signs that make me think, maybe I do in fact have just a little touch, not enough to where I need to be medicated, but certain things, I think it could be useful. Anyway, because I'm a streamer, that definitely makes it worse, for sure. For sure. It's just Twitch chat, million be in Twitch chat, you know? Alright, let me switch screens. Let me make myself smaller a little bit.
So today...
Oh. Okay. I'm gonna be watching this while I paint my nails. While we hang out. So hopefully... Yeah. Ultimate guide to painting your first miniature. Everything you need to know. And then I do have another video of his that's like 10 minutes long about like everything you should know, everything I wish I'd known or something. He seems to be highly recommended for painting. So yeah. So let's enjoy. I think it was loud enough.
So today is the day where we show you how everything is done.
Yeah.
From buying your first miniature and assembling that like a pro, priming it, basing it, and painting it. And that is including all of the tools and products that we recommend that we've been using over the past 5 years. And even picking out the right miniature for your paint jobs. Chapter 1. Buying the right miniature. The first thing we need to figure out is why am...
Well, guess we better sneak right past that one. Because the miniature's already been bought. Besties. I'm kidding. We're obviously going to watch the full video, but it'll be interesting to see what he has to say about picking the right miniature. I would just think that you'd pick what you think is cool. But, you know, maybe there's more to it. I guess depending on your goals. Like, what are you painting for, you know? I built the Battle Sisters, so I'm painting them.
Am I painting miniatures? Is it to play a game? Well, then you've probably narrowed down your selections to the game that you're going to play. The two biggest games using miniatures are definitely from Games Workshop, Warhammer 40,000 and Age of Sigmar. But there's also tons of smaller miniature games like Conquest by Parabellum Games and Moonstone the Game.
Oh.
But there's also tons of...
Wait, the Moonstone ones looked kind of cool. Yeah, and then chat voted, and so I also picked up Lady Olinder after I paint my Battle Sisters. I will build and paint Lady Olinder. Yeah. Oh my god, I didn't even tell you guys. Someone remind me after the videos, we can yap, and I'll tell you guys about how I gamed the system, and I got a really good deal on the Lady Olinder. Remind me, chat, because I'm gonna forget. I know I will. Until like 3 weeks from now. That's how beginners get knights. Yeah, the Moonstone ones look cool.
Of miniature that aren't for games. And personally, I enjoy painting those maybe even more than the gaming miniatures. Some of my favorite brands for display miniatures are Terrible Kid Stuff, Mindwork Games, and Black Sun Miniatures. And if you want to get crazy, me and the guys running this channel are currently running a Kickstarter releasing our first 75mm line of miniatures.
Wait,
and
they're beautiful.
These display miniatures are sci-fi elves, mystical orcs, and a necromantic human race. And if you want to check that out, I will put all of those links down in the video description because these are pretty freaking awesome.
Wow.
If you're one of those that's buying a miniature that's not for gaming,
it is very important to not just select a miniature that looks cool, because if you pick a poorly sculpted miniature with a lot of details that doesn't give you a lot of room for painting, you're pretty much forced to sculpt yourself with the paintbrush. And if you're a beginner, that's really tough.
No, I believe. I have full faith in myself.
Check out the brands that I've mentioned earlier, as well as the ones that we've designed ourselves. We've made sure that the miniatures have well-sculpted features. And when you pick a miniature like that, the brush will pretty much follow the shape of the miniature, meaning...
I kind of see what he says, though. Like, it's sculpted in a way that makes it easier to paint.
That you will not have to fight against the sculpt to create something pretty. And painting a miniature like this will not only be easier, but you'll probably have a much better end result.
Holy shit. Oh my god. I know this is not the point of the video, but all the little strokes and colors and highlights in this arm of armor is insane. Yeah, and I love the depth that they created in the abs. That all plays with like light and shadow though. You'll make artistic things like this. Like it looks very deep and rich. And that's because like if you look at one piece, okay, for example, like the red feathers, okay, look at one feather. The darkest color is like an extremely dark red to potentially black almost outline here. And the lightest color is like a very light red to potentially white, like specks along that line, perhaps. When you have that insane contrast, it gives a lot more depth. So from what I learned in art many, many moons ago, is that a mistake a lot of beginners make is not adding enough contrast to their work. So I know like this guy's incredibly skilled, but like I'm so blown away by this arm right here. Jesus. The more textured the model is, the easier it is to control the paint. That makes sense. That makes sense. The guys on this channel are competition tier painters. Oh yeah, for sure. I'm not expecting to do anything nearly this good, but display painting or diorama painting, a big skill in it is creating lighting effects or controlling how the light plays with the colors. Golden Demon. Yeah, I should look into the Golden Demon one day. I want to see what people, because those are the winners every year, right? I want to see that
result than if you pick a miniature that has tons of details that just cover up all of the shapes of the mini. And with that, you will also become a better painter. An example of this is what I like to call the classic balloon muscles, where there's pretty much just bulges representing muscles on the miniature, as opposed to something, say, sculpted by Jacqueline Palacios, where the muscles are sculpted realistic, yet still keeping the fantasy vibes. Another big issue that I found with a lot of these miniatures is that they are over-designed. Just take a look at these two examples. We have the classic Space Marine over here, quite simply designed with great shapes. And then we have this one over here, with not just metal armor, it also have patterns over all of the armor. It also have gemstones, it has backpacks, it has tassels on the backpack, and it has emeralds on the tassels. It has a cow on the helmet with horns and
I love that.
tassels on the helmet. And painting this as opposed to this one will definitely not only take more time, but will also probably make you a less good painter if you're just starting out. So start off simple and give yourself easy wins.
I mean, that makes sense, like, for sure. Starting off with a well-sculpted model and one that has easier details or less details, it makes sense, because you're getting comfortable with yourself. I'm not totally new to painting tiny things and painting in general, although paint was my worst medium when I was in art. So... we'll see how that goes, because paint was my worst medium, but I paint tiny nails all the time, so I don't know, I'm not that concerned. I'd rather spend time painting things I think are cool than building my skill up, like, in a better way, I guess. You don't buy or paint, but the patience needed to paint them is worth it, especially if someone's skilled and creative. They make masterpieces. Yeah, details can be a blessing and a curse for sure. Newer models can be a bit over-designed. Makes sense. Hi, Sogi.
The two most common materials we work with as miniature painters is plastic like polystyrene and resin. Most of the bigger gaming miniature brands work with polystyrene like Games Workshop and the Conquest Miniatures, while the smaller boutique brands that produce smaller quantities of minis like these ones as well as the Moonstone ones are made in resin. Over the last couple of years there's also been the addition of 3D printing, and that gives us a huge possibility to find unique miniatures and print them in our home the same day that we find them. And to me it's just awesome how many creative miniatures we have to select from. This is a box of Gore Chosen of Drom, a warband of miniatures from the game Warhammer Underworlds. A perfect start if you want to dip your toes into Warhammer without spending a few $100s for an entire army. This one costs about $30. When you bring out your sprues, they come out looking something like this.
They're red. I was expecting them to be gray like the other ones. What the hell? Why are they red? 3D printing, but you have cats. Painting a tabletop sandwich is different than display.
And if you're lucky, the miniatures you purchased included an instruction on how to build them, like this one. But when you purchase display minis or miniatures from smaller brands, that might not be the case. But when it comes to building Games Workshop miniatures, I always recommend following the guide, because many times there are parts that you might not be able to add if you don't add them at the right time. You'll need a set of clippers, a hobby knife, and glue. You can start your hobby journey by buying cheap clippers, or maybe even using tools that you have at home from other projects. But trust me when I say there are advantages to buying better clippers with a flat side that go through plastic almost like it's butter. Just like this one from Redgrass Games. When you cut your miniature from the sprue, you want to be able to put the flat side of the clippers as close as possible to the model. If you have an unsharp tool, you will either end up with stress marks like this one going into the miniature, and if you don't have a flat side, you'll end up with leftover bits like in this case. And that is where you bring out your sharp hobby knife. A new sharp blade is always preferred to scrape off any leftover parts on the miniature. It is incredibly important to remove any of these type of leftover bits on miniatures, especially if this leftover is on an area that will be connected to a different part later. Because
I can't get over how good that camera was that close to that tiny little thing. Also, I don't think I scraped them quite that well. I feel like how he was holding the knife, like I need to learn that. I need to just hold just the tip like that next time. She struggled getting her glue bottle to work. What kind of glue did she have? I think the box cutter is fine. It's just like way bigger, so it's probably easier to accidentally cut parts of the model you don't want to. Box game, they do colored plastic. Huh. That's so interesting. It was also your first time, so it's kind of expected. True. The GW plastic glue. I have only used the Tamiya, and it's been fantastic, so I can't complain about that. All about the tip handling? Yeah.
if you leave this one on, you will be left with a major gap once you glue these two parts together. And that can make your miniature look really funky sometimes. And once you're done cutting your miniature apart, you're going to end up with sprues like this, with maybe some bits left over, and of course all of the plastic from the edges. The extra bits you can save for later if you want to maybe have some conversion ideas for the next figure you're gonna buy, where you can reuse the weapons for that figure. And the edges of the frame, well, either you throw these out, recycle if you live in a place where they can recycle polystyrene, or you save them for something we're gonna do in a later step. Just hang on, we're gonna get to that. On any miniature you purchase, whether it's from Games Workshop or the hand-cast miniatures like these ones, there's always risk for something called mold lines. And that is created when the two different molds are pushed together and the plastic or resin is injected to that mold. Some of that resin or plastic is going to seep through in between the two different molds that are pressed together. The by far easiest way to remove this is by scraping it off with the hobby knife. But another one of my favorite ideas is by using a nail file sanding sponge. Not the hard ones, but
what's hilarious is those nail files look almost identical to my nail files. which I just feel like is so funny. Like, we have the same nail files, dude. Just with gamer tags on it. Yeah.
The softer ones that's kind of squishy. You can also get these sponge strips that are great for reaching into tighter areas. And personally, I prefer scraping off any mold lines before I start building, because sometimes, depending on the miniature design, it's going to be difficult to scrape off the mold lines once you've started gluing the miniature together. Before we add any glue, I always recommend to test fit the parts, because that way you'll know where you need to add the glue. Also, you'll know if you need to cut off any extra parts before you start adding the glue. And if you're using resin models, there might be some parts that are warped that's gonna need some sanding. And again, with Games Workshop kits, often they are quite over-designed, so it has happened not just once that I've put glue in the wrong place, and when I finally add the part to the miniature, I was supposed to add the glue to a completely different area. Okay, so the miniatures are cut up, they're cleaned up, they're ready to be glued together. When building polystyrene miniatures, my favorite sort of glue is plastic cement, also known as plastic glue. I've got a few different brands from Army Painter, Tamiya, and Citadel. My favorite one is definitely this one from Citadel, as it's got a really nice metal tip that helps me control where I get the plastic glue. If we get it in areas where it's not supposed to be, it's going to muddy up the miniature and melt some of that plastic.
That's interesting, because everyone ever tells me they like the Tamiya one. So this is, I feel like, the first time I'm hearing someone say that they like the Citadel one. High of grit nail files usually go. I'd have to look. I have a 100 and 180 are the ones that I use the most. And then I have like a Flex 281 right here. I know I have a couple others, but I didn't bring them up with me. Squidmar speaking heresy. Maybe he's partnered, or maybe he really does. Maybe he really does like that tip specifically. We're all gonna have our own style, right?
Because that is pretty much its purpose. It's going to melt the two different parts together in sort of a weld, and when it's hardened, it is like there's never been a gap between the two areas. And unless you cut it apart, the parts are not separating. The other reason I really like the plastic cement is because the gaps you get when putting two parts together pretty much vanishes when you use the right amount of plastic glue. But there's also a good reason to pick up the Tamiya plastic cement. If you have leftover plastic bits, you can cut these apart and add them to the plastic cement. This will dissolve all of the plastic and will create something that we call sprue goo. This is pretty much liquid plastic that you can use as glue or filling for smaller gaps.
Wait, so I could buy a second bottle and then throw all my sprues in it and have a sprue goo? That's crazy to see.
If you, on the other hand, purchase a resin miniature or have the older metallic ones, you're going to have to use super glue or cyanoacrylates. Again, there are tons of different brands. Personally, I'm not a big fan of the Gorilla Glue, and the Loctite one is quite expensive. So usually I go to dollar stores and pick up some cheap super glue. The favorite one in the office is from Biltema, which is a hardware store that sells them together with super glue activator. Outside of that, I don't feel like super glue needs any more detailed introduction. Just add the glue to one of the parts and put them together. Unfortunately, because it's not melting the two parts together like the plastic glue, we're often going to get something called gaps. And these gaps can be filled with a few different things, either the sprue glue that we mentioned earlier, or you can use something called green stuff, milliput, liquid putty, liquid green stuff, or just regular wood/PVA glue if you have that at home. I found that there's a place for all of these different techniques, but my favorite one to use when I really want to get nice miniatures is milliput. The milliput is a two-component modeling epoxy. You've got the paste and the activator. Mix the two together in equal parts into the amount you need and push it in place. It's easy to use, easy to move around, and most of the times I don't even have to sand it to have a smooth transition between between the milliput and the miniature itself. You can moisten any sculpting tool that you have so that it won't stick to your tool and just shape it in the way that you want. And when you're going to blend the milliput against the figure and using a brush, don't use an expensive brush. Maybe you have some old hobby tool from an IKEA paint kit or something like that, or dollar store brushes that you can use. And remember to clean up the brush after you've used it against milliput, because otherwise it's gonna be ruined forever.
Oh, jeez.
Easiest to use is definitely the plastic putty, which you just squeeze out of the bottle where the gap is and then remove any excess. If you need to, again, bring out the sanding sticks and sand between the two different parts. Okay,
Oh,
with that, we have
that does
both
look really
plastic
nice,
and
though.
resin miniatures looking amazing, but they're still missing.
Oh, I'm not gonna make sprue glue right now. But it's good to know that I can just like make it. That's pretty cool. BSI for super glue. Gap filling's a bit advanced. Yeah. He's just going over everything you need to know. Hi, Mango. I'm not concerned about filling gaps right now. I have a feeling I won't even really notice them, honestly, until I'm painting, and then it'll piss me off.
The most important part, the paint. Way before I even started this YouTube channel, I picked up my first Red Grass Games wet palette and I fell in love. And now we come full circle because now they are paying me to talk about the product that I already purchased myself. And earlier this year, they released version 2 of their wet palette. And they've listened to the audience. Not only have they made their smallest wet palette slightly bigger, but they've also made the big one a little bit deeper. And the foam is about 50% thicker, which means that you can fill it with more water and it will last longer until you have to refill it. And to me, that means that they are serious about continuously making the best wet palette even better. To me though, the best thing is the new membrane. This is the wet palette paper, and not only does the paint last longer on it and it's easier to work with, because over the past 8 months we've tried it and it's clearly superior to the old ones, but it's completely unique because the best thing is that you can actually clean the wet palette paper and reuse it. The pre-order for this wet palette and the smaller one just went live.
Wait, I got a red grass palette, but I don't think it was like this new fancy one. It was just on Amazon. But I was like, I need some form of palette anyway, so I might as well just buy a wet palette. And it was definitely a red grass one. Encourage you to be better builder and painter. Yeah, I can see that for sure.
So if you want to be among the first one to get it that wasn't part of the Kickstarter, you can just follow the link down below. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. This is a terrific product. And now, let's get back to teaching you how to paint. And now we're going to dive...
Dude, the amount of paints in that picture was insane.
Deep into the most common techniques for beginners to learn and the steps you're gonna take after today. There's quite a few tools you need to paint your first miniature. First, an obvious one is a brush. There's a few different ways to go at it, but if you don't have a strict budget, I always recommend to start with 3 different brushes. The first one is a Kolinsky Sable paintbrush.
I don't have that.
Made from natural hair, and the reason you buy one, it's got an unmatched precision. The tip is the sharpest one you can get for miniature painting, and it keeps the tip sharp for a very long time. The good thing about the Kolinsky as well, it's got a good reservoir, meaning that it can store paint in the bristles of the brush much better than a synthetic brush. And the last one, but also probably one of the biggest one, is that the flow of the brush, the way that it follows the shape on miniatures, it cannot be replicated on any synthetic brush that I've ever tried. So once you've tried a really good Kolinsky brush, you won't go back.
I don't think I have a really good Kolinsky brush. I just have the set someone bought me. Should I like buy a brush while I'm out tomorrow? I'm feeling brush envy. I'm feeling brush envy, chat. You get your brushes from a darling old lady in Texas? Wait. Can I know about who you get them from? Squidmarsh sponsored by a lot of payment. Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure he rarely has to buy stuff. They just send it to him to test. I'm sure. I have no doubt about that. Brush envy's real. They're not needed for just starting out, I'm sure, but still. I have a set someone gifted me from Amazon, so I'll use it. I mean, I'm very grateful for it.
To get is a cheap synthetic brush. Usually I buy these from a dollar store or a hardware store, 10 pack for maybe $7. But previously I've also purchased stuff from Amazon and Wish, and all of them have worked greatly for the purpose this brush is gonna have. Because where the Kolinsky brush is like a Ferrari, you cannot drive it on a forest road, but when you're on the racetrack, it's unmatched in speed and precision. The synthetic brush is your tractor. It's gonna do all of the dirty work. It's going to be perfect for painting areas where you can't reach with the Kolinsky brush without breaking the bristles, and just generally stuff that's bad for the brush, like washes, contrast paints, and metallic paints. But when you want to paint details, like getting the final highlights, or maybe painting eyes or tiniest stuff on the miniature, the Kolinsky brush is gonna be unmatched. And just having one of each of these brushes is going to let you paint for a very long time without having to purchase another brush. The last brush I like to recommend people to get is a dry brush. My painting technique
I think it came with one of
dry
those.
brushing, but for beginners, I feel like it's a great way to bring out detail quite fast without having to learn a lot about light and light placement. I would recommend you to get a cheap makeup brush, but you can also use a old broken synthetic brush for this as well. But you don't ever want to use your Kolinsky brush for dry brushing, because dry brushing destroys any brush that is not made for dry brushing. If you like dry brushing a lot, there are fancier dry brushes like the one from Artist Opus Series D, but for a beginner, I feel like this is a cost you can save for later.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So the second thing you're gonna need is paint, and to start with that, a primer. A primer helps seal the material that you're painting on, and it also gives a better adhesion for the paints that you're gonna add with the brush. And the ones that I mostly use to this day are spray can primers. I just find that these stick the best, and it's the fastest thing to use. And when selecting primer, there's a few different ways to go at it. If you're painting an army where all of the figures are going to be red or blue, maybe the best way to go is to buy a blue spray can primer that can work as the base color.
That's so
for your
smart.
army. If you're
Wait, that's actually genius though. Like, obviously I'm not painting armies. I'm certainly not like painting whole armies the same color. If I paint an army, they're probably all gonna be a little bit different. But like, that's genius to get a primer in the color you're gonna paint them. So they basically already have like a base coat on them. Oh, that's so smart. Oh man. That is 10,000 IQ. Makeup sponges for painting? Oh yeah, I could see sponging being useful for sure. For sure. Okay.
more like me, you like working from the shadows and up, I prefer starting with a black primer. We've tried so many different brands of primer, and the finest ones we found are Citadel and Vallejo, but the Army Painter one is quite good as well. It doesn't quite have the same pressure, but the color and the adhesion is really good. There's also something called a Central Prime, and this is achieved on top of your black primed miniatures by spraying with a white spray can from above. And this is done for a few different reasons. The first one, and the main reason that I often do it, is to create a volumetric base priming on your miniature, meaning that the brightest point of the miniature is going to be raised towards zenith, which would be the sky, where the light mostly comes from, and it will leave the shadows darker. This
Holy shit, that's so smart. 10 billion thousand million IQ. I only have one primer though, and it's white, so I sprayed them with white. I thought I would make it easier to paint them because I could like see them better. Hi, Electric.
is awesome if you're using translucent paints or inks to paint your figure. It kind of gives you free highlights and shadows, but it also gives you a higher saturation in the highlights, because the brighter the undercoat you have, the more of the color of your next layers is going to shine through. And having a completely white undercoat prime your miniatures white gives you a much more vibrant tone, especially if you're using colors that have a quite poor pigmentation. Usually that's colors like orange, red, and yellow. Another reason why I really like using is because it helps bring out the details. My eyes are not quite what they used to be, so having white from above really helps me see what all of the different details on the miniatures really are, as opposed to when everything is just a matte black. Let's get to the regular paints. In today's hobby, there are so many different paints and so many different types of brands. And all of them have their purpose, but today we want to break it down and make it a little more accessible. The three most common ones are regular acrylics, washes, and the new contrast paints, speed paints, dipping inks, depending on which brand you're gonna buy. But there is also enamels and oils, but we're going to leave those out for today because for a beginner, the regular acrylics, washes, and contrast paints are way enough.
Oh my god.
The regular acrylics don't need a big introduction. These are regular paints that you're going to layer upon your miniature. Most of them cover quite decently, and you can mix them like any normal paint to get new colors or new variations of colors. And in my opinion, really the only must-haves. On this channel, previously we've done a massive test, trying hundreds and hundreds of paints from over 20 different brands, and we came to the conclusion that for a beginner, the most easy brands to start with is either Vallejo Model Color or Citadel. But we also really enjoyed the AK Interactive 3rd generation paints as a beginner paint.
Oh, that's so interesting. I want to say someone linked that video. I feel like that would have been a good one to watch before I bought some paints, but maybe we could still watch it anyway. It might have some pointers in it still, you know? It could. I'm sure. Maybe after I start painting, I'll watch it, because, like, it'll give me ideas of what I'm missing or something. Hey, RB.
And washes is a type of low viscosity paint that seeps into the cracks and crevices. And the most common usage is recess shading, meaning that you're adding a darker color into all of the areas that are folded on your miniatures, leaving the raised areas the same brightness as they were before. The second biggest usage is to use it as a glaze, meaning that you paint something with a really thin down color to either just slightly color something or to smoothen out a transition between two different areas. The last type of paint we're going to talk about is something called contrast paints. It is named that because the first brand that came with this paint named it that. But other brands like Army Painter call them speed paints or Green Stuff World dipping inks. Vallejo also have one coming up, but it's not quite released yet.
I didn't realize speed paint and contrast paint were the same thing. It'll give you an idea for sure. This is how you spend a lot of money fast. I'm perfectly fine. No need to worry. Star Wars Shatterpoint minis. Oh. Dipping inks are old. Is it just like actual ink? Using a pink undercoat helps with painting yellow. I feel like in the video we watched last week, the Warhammer guys, someone was talking about how they put pink to like underneath their yellow that they painted. You can't post a link because it'll nuke you. You have to do it in like Discord. I got tired of all the like links that pop up in chat from all the bots and stuff, so yeah, Stream Elements will just nuke them immediately. GW probably trademarked contrast. I'm sure they did.
This is a low viscosity, high pigment translucent paint. The purpose of this paint is pretty much to give you a one-coat paint that leaves you with a highlight, a shadow, and a mid-tone. And it's often used over a white primer, or if you want to use its full potential, over a zenithal highlighted miniature. This will leave the most raised areas the highlight tone. The mid-tone, the part between the shadow, this area will also be the most saturated as it's a translucent and vibrant paint over a white primer, and in the shadows you will still have the same shadow tone that you had from your priming. And this type of paint is awesome if you're painting a lot of miniatures. Maybe you're batch painting an army, or maybe you have 20 figures to finish for the Dungeons & Dragons game this evening. With the contrast paints and speed paints, you're going to have something that looks quite good with just one coat. But if you're getting into painting at a higher level or want to paint for competitions, contrast paints are more like a complement to the regular acrylics. A great way to add your first coat that you're then gonna have to work up on later. And in my opinion, combining the two is almost like cheating. It gets you great looking miniatures in a really short amount of time.
I can't lie. I want an airbrush so bad. It looks so fun to airbrush the paint. I want to try airbrushing. I want an airbrush so badly. Plus, I would use it for my nails too. Dual purpose. You posted the minis. Awesome. I'll take a look after chat or after stream. It's like $400. Surely you could buy a cheaper one. But I would just buy one I could use for my nails and minis, and you'd probably have to get different like heads or whatever so that of the cross contamination, but that's what I'd do because I could use it for my nails too. I want so bad. New painting. No, I haven't. I'm very new. This is the only video I've watched so far about how to paint, so rewarding. Yeah, I really want to try. I wish I could I wish I knew someone that had an airbrush so I could try using it, but I just really want one. I want an airbrush.
But the big problem, it's gonna be quite pricey to start out buying both acrylics and speed paints. We're almost ready to paint our first miniature, but first we need to talk about the wet palette. Outside of getting a brush with a really nice tip, this is going to be the most powerful tool in your arsenal. If you paint directly out of the pot, the paint is going to be too thick and you're going to get blobs of paint that's going to remove some of the detail on your miniature. There are three major reasons for using one. The first one being that it can keep your paints moist for a long painting session. It can stay wet for hours instead of just minutes, especially if you're living in an environment where it's a very dry air like Sweden in the winters or maybe Texas in the summers. The second reason is
it's so fucking moist here, my guy.
To mix paints, because the paints are gonna stay wet during your entire painting session, meaning that you can add all the paints you're gonna use on the palette before you start. With this, you can also mix the paint between one another, meaning that you don't have to open up pots and add paint and mix them, and then when you're gonna use the same mix the next time, it's already dried. And the third one, and the biggest one, it's so much easier to control the consistency of the paint. Meaning that if you want to paint with a layer consistency, you can do that. And if you want to create a glaze, you can do that directly on the palette with your brush instead of having to mix a glaze of paints every time you're gonna do a glaze. It's all just gonna happen seamlessly. So what is really a wet palette? Well, it's pretty much just...
Oh my god, I was so glad I got one of these. I needed a palette of some sort anyway, and I remember hearing about wet palettes and I was like, this makes sense, but like, holy shit, no, I'm so glad I have one of these, because like acrylic paint dries so quickly. Obviously you guys know, but like acrylic paint dries like immediately. Cool color blends on a future night hunt. I want the night hunt box, guys. One of the stores I went to last weekend I think it was last weekend. One of them had a box, the night hunt army, like the whole box of all of them. I was foaming at the mouth. I wanted it so bad. Desert. I mean, yeah, there are parts of Texas that are dry in the summer, but not where I'm at. But yeah, airbrushing makes batch painting. I don't even anticipate that I would ever do anything like batch painting per se. I just feel like airbrushing, it gives such a beautiful effect. The paint is, you know, perfectly smooth because it's been airbrushed instead of like hand brushed. And it just like looks really fun. But I have to, I don't know. I can't just go out and buy it. Like, even if I would at least use it for my nail painting, I can't justify it like that. Not immediately. Let's see how far we take it, you know? We gotta see how far we'll take it first, chat. Okay.
3 things. It's a sponge filled with water. It's also a tray where the sponge is gonna be lying. And it's a paper that just lets a little bit of water through all the time. Just a perfect amount to keep the paint wet. You can purchase wet palettes. This is my favorite one from Redgrass Games. We've done a big test and this one just came out as the single best one, at least in our opinion. But they do cost a bit, so when you're starting out, I definitely recommend you to just make one at home. My recommendation for a beginner is to find a low plastic box. I then add a cellulose sponge cloth and fill that with water. For Europeans, this is something that pretty much everyone have in their everyday home. The most common one is from the brand Vetex. For Americans and people from outside of Europe, you can find these on Amazon. These are just on another level compared to using like a regular sponge or something like that, because they can stay moist for so much longer than a regular sponge and keeps more water. And the last thing we're gonna add is parchment paper. Not the waxy one, because that one doesn't let enough water through, but the regular just parchment paper. And this is a perfectly fine wet palette. When I started painting, I used this for like 6 to 9 months something before I purchased my first wet palette.
That's clever. I like that someone figured out how to make it themselves. Hi, Skilliams. Thanks for the follow. Sure thing, Dan. You had a bunch of Night Haunt you just sold off. Oh, I see. The advent of airbrush for makeup has spread a large number of meta. Okay. Yeah. True. Airbrushing is very popular in other artistic creative fields. Makeup, food, nails. Yeah. But like I see the combination of airbrushing with manual brushing creating some beautiful things, so. Airbrushing makes things like glow effects a lot easier. That makes sense too, but I imagine I could use like a makeup sponge for stuff like that.
Because when you're getting started, maybe it's more fun to have more paints than spend $60 on a nice wet palette. And if you live in a place where you just can't get hold of these sponges, don't worry, buy a regular sponge that's thin, or the even more DIY way is to use regular paper tissue. This works, but it doesn't hold the water for as long, so it's more of like a temporary one that you replace the next day you're getting started. Okay, my guys, we're ready to start painting. We got all of the tools, you know how they work, you know how to use them. And I'm going to paint 3 different miniatures with you today, showing the 3 different most common techniques that used for miniature painting. We start off by bringing out the wet palette and adding all of the colors we're going to use for the session on the palette. Something that can tremendously help in your painting journey is a good daylight balanced painting light, as our eyes are so much better at seeing details and colors in daylight. So just switching out your regular desk light lamp bulb for a daylight balanced one is the perfect start. We're going to start off with our cheap synthetic brush. Wick the brush into water to moisten it. We then remove any excess water. And the most common way of doing that, no matter how disgusting we think it is to remove the water in your mouth. This also helps me reshape the brush, but if you find that a bit nasty, then you can remove any excess paint on either a piece of cloth or a paper tissue. And the brush should just be slightly moist like this. It follows the shape of my hand when I move it around, and it doesn't split. And I want my...
I think I brought this up before, but did you guys know that, like, back in the day, that's how a bunch of women in factories would, like, reshape the brush when they were painting watches and clocks? But this was back when they were using, like, radium, so they basically all got, like, sick and died horrible deaths because they were ingesting, like, radioactive material. Yeah. So it's crazy. I feel like because I know that story, I couldn't ever use my mouth to reshape it because I will just think of that. Yeah, I have a lamp that I'll bring over and I can adjust the color and the hue of it. So hopefully that'll be good enough because that's all I got. I don't know if I've heard about the Fussy Jaw, or is that part of the Radium Girls? I listen to a lot of Rotten Mango. I really like her podcasts. I'm a bit behind though. There's a lot I haven't listened to recently.
First painted layers to be of layer consistency. So to get the right control, how do you do that? Well, we're only going to dip the brush about halfway into the paint. We then stir the paint gently into the brush on the wet palette. With this, we remove any excess paint and we get the paint into the belly and the reservoir of the brush. And this is the perfect time to check the consistency on the back of your thumb. If it's thin like this, you've created a glaze. That means that it's too thin for our initial layers and you haven't stirred enough paint into the brush. If it's like this, you have a perfect layer consistency. Let's start with the regular and most common way of painting. Maybe we can call it the Games Workshop style of miniature painting. We got our primed miniature and are going to start off by blocking out the colors. I like to start with the ones that's covering the biggest area. And some paints don't cover enough, meaning that you have to paint it 2 or 3 layers before you have a full coverage. But before we add another layer, we need to make sure that the miniature dries fully. Otherwise, we risk to reactivate the paint and remove that paint from the previous layer, leaving us with some areas that's gonna have patches of the primer shining through. This is how the miniature looks after 1 layer and 1 coat and about 3-4 minutes of drying. And really, you don't have to wait 3-4 minutes to be able to continue your painting, because while the first layer is drying, you can start painting another area. On this miniature...
Okay, so just go in like area stages. Paint different areas at the same time while they dry, kind of like do all the same colors or something. There's a word I'm looking for here and I just can't think of the word. You still use napkins instead of licking it? Yeah, I don't wanna lick it. That's not my vibe, I think. Not my vibe. I did not bring it up. Sorry. I'm taking a quick Warhammer video pause because I don't think I want to do this. What I had out to do for my nails. I don't think I do. I think what I want to do. I was gonna do like a black French on this, but I don't think I want to do that now. I think... Should I just do pink? Sorry. Quick pause. Well, I think it's just they're very plain right now. It's like a pink tan cat's eye effect, and I want something else. They're just a little bit boring for me. Pink and do red, or I could do more pink. Okay, hold on. I need to take out these colors. Or I could do the white and the black, just like we're not doing it for me. But maybe if I do like actual black instead of the black sparkles that I had. Okay, let me pull these out. Okay. Alright. She stalks everyone? Oh, I don't know if she stalks me. I don't know if I've seen... I think I've seen her in chat like once, but I don't really pay... Like, unless someone says something, I don't really know that they're in chat. Okay, hold on. I gotta think. Let me look at this. Got any advice for starting out with nail polish? I mean, I say just go for it. If it's regular nail polish, though, I would say the most important thing is gonna be, like, priming and getting rid of the natural oils of your nail to help the nail polish stick better. So do like an alcohol wipe or something before you paint. Oh, I might like the pink tip. Let me try a black tip. The plan. What's the plan? Dan with the plan. Okay. Let's see. I'm taking a quick pause, an intermission, one could say. I'm trying to decide if I want to go pink or black. I love the look of the black, but there's something about the pink. It's kind of a fun monochrome moment. So I think I'm going to go pink. All right. I just had to, like, see it. I had to see what I was looking at, you know? You feel me? Sometimes you got to, like, put it on and test it out. It's just going to be tough because I didn't bring up everything I wanted. Oh, well. This technique is probably responsible for the thin your paints meme. Honestly, yeah, it makes sense.
We're also just going to start with the mid-tones, and the reason for that is because we want to add the shadows in a later step and the highlights after that. Meaning no super dark colors and no super bright ones. So with the basic skin tone added in 2 separate layers, we have something looking like this. Now we just gotta add the base coats to all of the other parts of the miniature. With green pants, beige gray rocks. We're also giving him somewhat of a blonde hair and using that same color for all of the ropes. And lastly, a dark brown for his horns. And as you've seen on all of these shots, the colors that we've added bar from the horns are all mid-tone. No dark colors, as the shadows are going to be added with the washes in the next step. So, time for washes. For the skin tones, we're using Reichland Flesh Shade, and we're adding the washes somewhat richly, just making sure that we don't have pools collecting in any of the raised areas. If we do, we just move that around using our brush. For the pants, we're using Athonian Camo Shade. And for the hair, ropes, and beard, we're using Agrex Earth Shade. And always remember, this is one of those painting steps where you don't use your Kolinsky brush because the paints can seep back into the brush and break the bristles. For this, you want to use the cheap synthetics. So with the washes dried up, we have brought the miniature to this place. It is now a lot darker, but also messier. And this is one of the negatives using washes and why I maybe don't use them as much in my painting. But I cannot deny the positives. If you just want miniatures painted quickly, you already have something that looks like it's ready for the tabletop at this stage. And we can make it look even better adding a few layers of highlights. And that is what we're gonna do now. We're going to start off by reusing the same colors that we used to add our base coats and placing the highlights on all of the areas raised towards zenith. And this is where you finally bring out your fine Kolinsky Sable paintbrush. In this case, Lucas is using the Squidmar Mark I Kolinsky brushes and the size medium. We're still going to use a layer thickness adding the colors. And he's adding that to any flat surface and any surface that is angled upwards. And when you're adding it to muscles, make sure that the highlight is placed all the way up to the edge above it. As an example, check out the pectoral muscle where the highlight is all the way up to the muscle going towards the edge of his shoulder, so that it really feels like the brightest point of each muscle is the one that is placed closest to the light source. We're also going to add a final highlight layer, and we're doing that using the same color again, but then mixing in about 50% of light flesh.
So the only wash that I got, right, because these are washes that he's talking about, I just got the, what is it? It's the Citadel, like, black gnome oil wash or something. Because whenever watching the video, people were talking about how that one's really useful, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, I want to get one so I can try them out and see if I like them. So I only got that one. And I do want to test it out, like, you know, when there's the right model for it. But it seems like you can also thin out your paints enough to create a wash. So I will be interested in that too. Okay, I'm having a hard time. I need... Hold on, let me see. Oh, I do think I have something I could use. Hold on, hold on. Ah! I needed like a pot to put this acetone in. Because what I was trying to do, I didn't bring my normal one. I didn't bring my normal acetone up here. Okay. Now I should not probably just have this on my desk either. Paper towels, perfect. I'll just put a little... Oh my god, I think I just messed up everything I've been trying to do. Oh well. Oh schwell. Okay. You don't need a wash. I also got purple paint. I think I got a purple. If not, I can make purple. I am familiar with color theory, so...
And this time we're adding it to the same area as previously, but only going down about 30%, meaning that we leave about 30% of it completely in shadow, the one that we've had with the washes, then 70% of the area with the first highlight, and then about 30% of the area covered with the final highlight. And this will now be repeated on the rest of the miniatures area, on the pants, on the ropes, and on the hair. And you do this until you reach a point of the highlights where you feel happy. If you want to go even brighter, maybe going with clear light flesh as your final highlight, or maybe even adding white or ivory to punch it even a bit more. That is completely up to you, but this is a great base and a nice place to start out. And one thing I think is super important to keep in mind is you don't need to use these exact colors. Every paint brands have similar colors that have just a small marginal difference of the tone. And it doesn't make any sense to go out and buy new paints every time you follow a new tutorial. Just use the ones you have at home to start with, and then as you develop as a painter and keep painting more, that is the time when you start buying more paints to get more tonal variation. Another thing to remember is that whenever you're painting with your Kolinsky brush and want to have a fine tip, make sure that the brush is always moist and refill it with new paint the second it starts drying on your brush. And depending on where you live, that might be more often than you think. But this is the first key to make your brush control a lot better. To highlight the rocks, we're gonna use dry brushing. This is pretty much the opposite of using a wash. We start off by moistening our dry brush. And when using a dry brush, you need to make sure that it's a lot less moist than with a normal paintbrush. Think of it maybe like a 2% moistness. You shouldn't have any water leave the brush when you're using it on a piece of paper or on your hand, but it shouldn't be completely dry. You then stir some of the paint into your brush, and then we wick most of that paint off on either a piece of cardboard, paper, or pretty much anything that makes the brush dry. Hence the name dry brush. Now dry brushing is perfect for areas like rocks.
Wow.
So we're just gonna wick the brush on top of those areas, and it is only going to leave paint on the most raised areas. And this technique is just perfect for doing bases, maybe wood and rocks, anything.
Dude, that looks like cheating. That's so cool. Known oils on the dark side. It's a good universal shade. Yeah, they were talking about it and I thought, you know what? Hi Frank, how are you? Good luck at the casino. Frank, thank you for being here. I hope you're having a good night. I hope you're drinking plenty of water. You eat something delicious and you know that you're appreciated and cared about. When you have 100 plus models, you cheat as much as you can. It makes sense. It makes sense for sure. I cannot blame. Round, flat. Here we go. This is the one I'm looking for.
Thing that's got a lot of texture and is on a slightly larger area. So with that, I think it's time for the first out of 3 grand reveals. So this was the first painting technique out of 3 total that I'm gonna show today. And there are some positives and negatives with this one. The first and positive ones are that these are quite simple techniques, just learning to block in the colors and using a wash. The highlights, on the other hand, obviously requires a little bit more of a practice and control, but it can get you to a nice level. The negatives though, I am not a huge fan of the washes, because no matter how good you are at using washes, you're giving up a little bit of your control for speed. And another big problem is, if there's an area that you want to repaint during your highlighting steps, it's going to be impossible, because you're firstly going to have to repaint it with the base coat and then add the wash again. Because if you add wash on top of wash, you're gonna have some areas that are even darker and some areas that are bright. So it's a little limiting in my opinion. But now, it is time for technique number 2. And this is probably the one that I think is best for all beginners, because it's probably the technique that is easiest to get something good looking without any previous knowledge at quite a fast pace. And this is the way of contrast. For this, we start out with the Cruel Boys Warhammer miniature, zenithal primed with the black undercoat and then with white from above. Our mission now is pretty much to just block off the colors of the miniature with the contrast paints that fits best with what we're trying to achieve. So for this orc's skin tone, we're using Gut Rip of Flesh to get a nice green soft tone all over. We're using Aldari Emerald for its shield, and as you can see, we're filling it in richly with paint using a larger synthetic brush so that we don't ruin any of our nice brushes. We're using Gorgranta Fur, a dark saturated red-brown to paint all of the brighter leather parts. All wood parts as well as the belt is painted with wildwood. This is the darkest contrast paint you're gonna use. I just love this one so much to block off different colors and get separation between different areas. And when adding these darker colors on top of the brighter one like the Gut Rip of Flesh, make sure that you're really careful with your application. Because if you get this dark brown on top of the green skin, you cannot really go back and add that green again. Because in a similar way like with the washes, the contrast paints mostly are translucent, meaning that if you add the Gut Rip of Flesh on top of this dark brown, you're gonna have the dark brown shining through. But if you had a little bit of bright green leaking to the area that you were going to paint with a dark brown, it doesn't matter as much because the wildwood, as an example, will pretty much fully cover that area. So I always recommend starting with the bright colors first. To give the miniature a little bit of a brighter pop, we're adding Blood Angel's Red on the tassel on top of his helmet. The only part that's left to base coat now is the metals, and we're using my favorite metal color, Gunmetal Grey from Vallejo Metal Color. And with that, we have a miniature looking really good. Seriously,
it's crazy how quickly like that comes together too. It's crazy. I mean, like for people who are totally new to painting or really intimidated, I feel like that's a great technique, honestly. It is like magic. It demands a lot. Well, for sure. And you have to get used to like how much ink on your brush and how far that's gonna go. So
only with these base coats, I think the miniature looks tabletop ready. And as opposed to using regular acrylics and washes, we did this with just one coat. And in my opinion, it looks better than the 3 first coats with the first technique. But now you're here to learn how to take this to the next level. Just like with our first miniature, we're going to bring out the acrylics to add in highlights. When painting leather and fabric, I really enjoy having some painted texture in there. We're going to start off with an orange brown, deathclaw brown, and stipple in some highlights. Stippling pretty much means you're going to add tiny dots on top of the miniature.
yup.
We're also going to add a second set of highlights using the same deathclaw brown, but mixing that 50-50 with light flesh and focusing this highlight mainly on the edges of the areas and on the most top parts. Now let's move on to the skin. We're mixing moot green with light flesh about 60-40, starting out using the same highlight technique as we did on our first miniature, every angled upwards towards the sky or a flat surface. Once the first highlight layer is added, we'll bring out...
I think this is what I will struggle with the most. Because I did, you know, I studied art. I took art classes. I have some basic understanding, but creating the shadows and the depth is, I think, what will be the most challenging. And I imagine is quite challenging for a lot of people. Because that really requires, like, to get good at... I don't know. It really requires, like, a good artistic eye, I think. Lots of skill and practice, and... I don't know. I could be wrong. You guys can definitely correct my opinion if you have a different one. I shouldn't say correct my opinion, but... you could change my mind depending on what you say. Oh, the orcs are good beginner models, or specifically those orcs. Sorry, I am so intently focused on my paint job, Lamel. I'm trying to do a French tip here. And I just have to connect this one line. I think I did. Okay. Everyone's first mini paint job is scuff. Should I just do like a... who do I pick to paint first? Should I do like a wheel? Because I'm painting all my minis themed after, based after each different Glitch Star's talent. So should I do like a wheel to determine which one I paint? I feel like that's the fairest thing. Because I imagine that it'll start off like pretty scuffed and then it'll get better. Designate someone as a test model. I think I'll have to do a wheel and that'll decide who goes first.
out our second highlight, mixing it about 30-70 this time. So about twice as much light flesh as we did with the first layer. Adding this to the same areas, but a slightly smaller surface compared to the first layer. And again, if you want to draw more focus to the most important areas around the face area or the weapons, we make sure to add more of the highlight around the face than we do, for example, on the bottom of his torso. Now we're just gonna add the final highlights to the rest of the parts as well. I'm bringing in a brighter turquoise on the shield and the helmet, Japanese uniform on the straps. Then we're gonna block in the teeth with wildwood to get some separation in the face, washing the spear with Nuln oil to just bring out some shadowy contrast on the steel. And finally, it's time for the final details on this mini. That is just gonna bring everything together and make it worth for people to pick up the mini and see what you've actually done with it. We're going to highlight the steel with the metal color silver, using the edge of our brush and just adding it to the edge of the spear. And painting the eyes with a super nicely tipped Kolinsky brush, just using some ivory and adding a dot of black on one of the sides.
I quite like the idea of like highlighting the metal with the metallic color. I feel like that's pretty cool. I like that. Don't go back in and fix it. Let it be. Fair enough. War Hipster's a good channel. Thanks for the follow, Brooklyn. Welcome.
And with that, guys, it is time for our second grand reveal.
I mean, I think it looks
definitely
great.
My favorite beginner techniques because of the fact that your miniature is going to look pretty much amazing just using the contrast paints. If you then feel brave enough to add in highlights with acrylics, you're going to have something high-end after a very short amount of time once you've actually learned to control your brush work. But we have one more painting technique to show you guys, and this is the one that I use the most, together maybe with some contrast paints depending on which paint job I'm doing. We started this paint job off just with a black Space Marine and then zenithal primed it using a blue spray can primer. We're now going to add in highlight layers, mixing colors in different steps. And this is the technique to use if you want to have full control of where you place the highlights and to not get any blotchy areas that you might get with contrast paints or washes. And to get the highlights and shadows exactly where we want them and getting smooth transitions, we're going to mix every step of each highlight together with the previous color. We start off with a blue, mixing that with a little bit of turquoise. We're then going to add the second highlight using a clean turquoise and then adding more light flesh as we go. And I'm not going to get into the deep details on where to place the highlights and exactly how to use the brush to control it to get the best blends. You should consider this more as a demonstration of what you can do once you've mastered the control of your brush. Because as we work our way up from the darkest color to our brightest highlight, we can control how much light we want on each of the areas, and we're also going to get a very painterly, almost hyper-realistic style. The biggest problem with this technique, working our way from the darkest color to the brightest in layer upon layer, it is that it takes a lot more time. So maybe this is not something that you do if you're gonna paint an army of 100 Space Marines, but more if you're just gonna paint one miniature for display or for a competition. Or maybe it's that one hero that you're using in your role-playing campaign that you want with the perfect paint scheme. This is also a technique that requires a lot of control, both in your brush, but also in knowledge of where to place the highlights. But guys, I think it's time to finally show you how all of these three miniatures look together and how the different end results look between the different techniques. Time for the third grand reveal.
I mean, okay. To be fair, I know he's like a pro, so obviously they're all gonna look good. But they all look good. they all look good. I don't know. I think I fixed it. Okay. I mean, I guess there is something to say about that the Space Marine. Like, I see it. Don't get me wrong. I see it. But, like, they're all very impressive. Which, again, I'm sure is a hugely attributed to his skill. I'm sure. Okay. Sorry. I'm deeply focused on cleaning up that French line. I don't think I'm going to do Frenches on my right hand because that is just gonna take too fucking long. Maybe I'll do 1 or 2 just so it looks like I tried, but like fuck, I just ruined the edge. Painting French tips using my non-dominant hand doesn't sound like a fun time to me. Okay. Such a good Space Marine, he didn't drill. What do you mean by drill? Drill the barrel of the gun? How does one drill the barrel of the gun? I'm like so confused by what that means. Drill it. Better than painting the fleur-de-lis. I only did 1 of those and it was on my left hand, so I only did it with my right hand. Which I think just like inherently gives it the advantage. I think I'd rather paint another fleur-de-lis than French tips on every single nail, because like you also have to balance each nail with the other nails. Like, you have to kind of make sure they're all the same shape and thickness and like curvature, because they're all in the same hand. So when they're not, I feel like it looks very obvious and bad. Versus the fleur-de-lis, I just painted 1, so it didn't matter. Let's see. My battle sisters have guns, but the barrels don't have holes in them where the bullets fire out. Oh, this little hole right here, right? Okay. Bolters. You'd probably start off with contrast painting if you could go back. Bolters are molded with no opening in the barrel, so a lot of people use a small hand drill to drill out this little hole, right? Oh, but you could paint it black to give the illusion, right? Handle drift eventually, so you don't bother. Yeah, I don't know if I have a drill small enough for that, so... Oh shit, maybe my e-file actually has a drill bit. I could try it, but I don't know, because it's plastic and like nail drills are kind of designed to not hurt you, so I don't know if they would go through. A drilled hole looks good? Well, yeah, I'm sure. A drilled hole always looks good, you know what I'm saying? It's okay, I don't know what I'm saying, don't worry about it. Let me just get these. Well, I guess I should just finish the video. Okay. I haven't painted a French in so long. I'm getting the hang of it again. Let me get this Frenchie painted. Okay. You're lazy, you'll just put the tip of your hobby knife and twist it around, making a hole that way. Oh, I could see that. You need to drill out the front or the mouth of the bolter. Yeah, but I feel like that would matter less than the hole there on the side, you know? I don't know.
And the last thing that I'm gonna show you guys today is how to make simple bases to go with these miniatures. There are tons of different ways of making miniature bases. I have miniatures where I've spent probably more time making the bases than I have painting the miniatures. But for this specific paint job, when you're painting your first mini, you want to keep it simple. And the two most easy ways to make miniature bases is one, using sand and glue. You can either use PVA glue or super glue. Remember to use fine sand, because if you use two big pieces of rock, it's not going to look scaled proper, meaning that they're gonna look like huge boulders instead of fine sand. I just glue the sand in place, let it dry overnight, paint it with a dark color as a base tone, and then dry brush with a slightly brighter neutral color. So if you want brown sand, maybe start with a dark brown and then highlight it with a beige. If you want it to look like more gray rocks, start with black and dry brush with the gray. To top this off, I like buying a set of miniature grass tufts, and these just add so much life to the bases. Just doing one or two of these, or maybe three in place of the base, is going to make a huge difference. Or if you want to go nuts, just fill the entire base with grass tufts and you got a nice meadow. But there are easier ways of making bases. There is something called basing textures or texture paints. Many different brands make these, but my favorite is from Vallejo. These come in many different sizes and colors. You just pick the one that you like the most. It contains of pretty much just an acrylic medium, a color, and sand. So once you put this in place using a spatula, don't use your expensive brushes, because they're gonna get messed up. Once this have dried, you can pretty much just dry brush them with a brighter color and you're done. And you saved yourself the gluing and finding sand step. It's just a base texture and a dry brush. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, that you learned something. If you did, don't forget to subscribe. Also recommendation, once you feel ready for it, check out this week's sponsor, Redgrass Games. Their wet palette is beyond amazing. As I said, I even purchased them myself before I started with this YouTube channel and have never thought about using a different brand. Also, if you want to help out, you can check out our Patreon, maybe pledge $1 or $2 like all of these amazing people. No pressure at all, but if you can help, we deeply appreciate it. And with that said, have a great day, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye, Squidmar. Thank you for the video. I learned a lot. Shit, I'm fucking it up. I'm fucking it up. I think it was okay and I just ruined it. Shit. Hold on, chat. Hold on, chat. Okay. I feel like painting on stream is gonna be difficult. If like my if my nail painting is any indication. Okay, I just need to extend the line a little bit. Okay. Da da da. And can use melted sprue bits as base mats. Oh, that's cool. I don't have any melted sprue though. Chat told me, whoa, 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 hold on. Hold your horses. Hold your horses. Mine aren't even like glued down to their bases right now, so I'm not that concerned about the base painting. Like, I'll get there when I get there. I don't know if I want to do cobblestones. I don't know. I have no idea what kind of base I'd want to give them, to be honest. Pre-made bases. I did see the pre-made bases when I did see pre-made bases at the hobby shop. I didn't even know they made those. I thought that was pretty cool. But I don't think I need the, I don't know. We can figure out the bases after I paint them all. It's gonna take a while. So I'm not that concerned. White PVA glue and sand. Yeah, I'm not sure that's the vibe I'm going for though, so yeah, there's also this video that I wanted to watch. Painting your first miniature, everything he wish he knew, I think. Or do this or something. So let's check out this one too.
Where you can make awesome looking websites.
Uh-oh.
You want to paint miniatures. Make them look awesome to impress all of your other nerd friends for your Dungeons & Dragons or Warhammer games. As a now professional painter, these are the steps that I would take to make my first miniatures as good as possible. If you're anything like me, you want to learn it all. Before you even painted your first miniature. And you can get there, but just like when you're painting your first canvas oil painting, your first try won't be a Mona Lisa. This will be the first step in your journey to have a lot more fun with painting and playing with miniatures. And my recommendation to get the most out of your first try. And don't worry if it's not perfect, it's a never-ending journey. You're gonna keep improving for every miniature that you do. And when you're ready for the masterclass, it's right there, waiting for you. So you grab the mini you want to paint. You've built it, you've glued some sand and gravel on there. Now let the painting commence. Let's start off with a black primer. I like to paint my miniatures with something called a zenithal prime. When I've let the spray can rest in hot water for 5 minutes, I spray the miniatures black. I will then slap some bright...
Why does he let it sit in hot water for 5 minutes? I definitely did not do that. I just shook it up. I did a little pss, and then a pss, and then I was like, pss, I went over and I sprayed them. I knew enough about paint in general and spray paint to know to not just like spray directly on them right away, but I did not let them sit. I did not let the can sit in water. That's something I've never heard before. Hot water ensures it'll mix properly, helps it, loosens it up. Difficulty. Oh, okay. Well, Houston is hot as fuck, so sounds like I was probably okay. Sounds like I will probably never need to do that. Because even when it gets cold here, it's not that cold. But good to know. Good to know that little tidbit. Okay. Learn something new every day. Ultimate video. Okay, thanks. It keeps the paint thin. Also makes sense. So as long as you don't have texture. Oh, I did have a question though. Maybe it would be better for like after the video, but I feel like there's residue. Like Like it's definitely dry, but when I touch it, I have white on my hands. And it's not sticky, but it's like, I don't know. Like I pick them up and stuff, and then there's like white residue on my fingers, and it's a white paint, and I was like, surely I shouldn't paint them with this white, like, but I didn't know what to do about it. Or if that means I did something wrong, you know? Did the primer dry? Yeah, they're totally dry. They've been dry. They literally dried for like 8 hours. And when I was picking them up to put them in a bag to bring up here to my room, I like had white residue on my fingers. Almost like chalkiness or something. Houston's humidity might affect. Yeah, that was a bit of my concern. If the humidity maybe borked something. Some of the primer fully dried. Oh, like as I sprayed it, it was drying before it got on the model itself. Did you prime pure white? Yeah, I primed a white. Dang, you think it could dry that quickly? I guess so. Do I have any super cheap makeup brushes? I don't know if I have necessarily any super cheap ones, but I definitely have some I could ruin and it would be fine. I don't put that much effort into my makeup anymore, so I don't need all the brushes that I have, for sure. Are you saying, like, maybe wipe them off with a brush, perhaps? It might have. White primer has a tendency to come out chalky and texture-like. Okay. It was, I think it was Vallejo's primer is what you guys sent me. Someone bought it. Someone suggested it on my throne, and then someone bought it for me. But it does seem, yeah, it seems a bit chalky, I guess that's a good word. Thank you for that word. And it has like a chalky residue when I touch it. I was worried about like painting it with that residue on. So, maybe I will try to take a makeup brush and like wipe them off, basically brush them off, kind of. Not a bad idea. Okay. Okay. Just adding a couple little touch-ups to this here. Oh, that's way too much paint. To this. Ah. My whole left hand is gonna be done before my right hand is painted at all. That do be how it goes sometimes. See if you brush the powder residue off with a big soft brush. Big soft makeup brushes as well as eyeshadow brushes. I do have a dry brushing, I have a dry brushing brush or two that came in the kit I got gifted. So, how thick did you spray it on? I mean, I didn't try to spray it on very thick at all. There's some parts that are more white than others. I put pictures in Discord, but I think I'll try to brush it off with a makeup brush and see how it does. That makes sense to me. Oh my god, it's 11 o'clock. Okay, let's finish this video.
Brighter colors like a bright gray, a white, or a bone color from above to get some natural highlights and shadows and make it easier to see what all the details are.
Hold up there, Emmett. Aren't you forgetting something?
Maybe I am. I almost forgot. Nowadays, there's two great ways to get into painting your first miniatures. The first one is to use regular acrylic paints that have been using in the industry for about 30-40 years. The second one is with something called contrast paints. There's a couple of brands that make them, but Games Workshop were the original ones, and we're going to mainly focus on those. Both are equally valid, so let's cover both of these very different techniques one after the other so you can decide which one of these suits you best. So bring out the wet palette or make your own, grab a brush and shake thy paints. And get ready. Let's start with the acrylic paints. The first thing you got to do is to block out all the base colors. This is truly a paint by numbers step. What that means is we want to cover each separate part of the model with the color it should be in the end.
Okay.
The easiest colors to pick when you get started is with a mid-tone. Not with the shadow, not with the highlight, something in between. And when it comes to tools, when painting your first miniatures, I would recommend the brands Citadel or Vallejo. They're easily accessible paints and covers great. With brushes, I normally use Kolinsky Sable brushes as they are known for holding a lot of paint and have great tips. They usually cost around 15 bucks.
We love a good tip. It's actually like super fucking important. It's funny because I've always valued like good quality brushes and materials, but with nail painting, it's so blatantly obvious. So blatantly, like the difference using a good brush that I have, an expensive brush that I have. It was like a $20 brush versus like the cheap one I got as a gift. Again, still grateful for it, but the difference is astonishing. The way that it moves as you paint. Like, so I'm fully aware that I know like good brushes are worth it, but yeah, I kind of wish I had a vortex mixer because the turbo dork paints I got are very, very, like, I'm gonna have to shake them forever, but it is what it is.
So if you're starting out on a budget, get a medium-sized synthetic brush for a few dollars instead. Normally I use brushes in the size 0 to 1 for tiny miniatures, but that depends on the brand. For my own Squidmore brushes, I use the size medium or large for about 90 to 95% of the work. But if money is no object, a good tool really does give you more control. As a beginner, when I started out, I know that I really appreciated this. Okay, here comes something that's more important than you think. You need to learn how to load your brush properly. This is something that's going to help you throughout your entire painting career, whether you're painting just for fun or to get really good at painting. You start off by whisking your brush in the water to make sure that the bristles are wet. Remove any excess water so the brush is only moist. Now you bring the brush close to the paint in holy matrimony. The more paint you stir into the brush, the better the coverage is gonna be. But sometimes you don't want as much coverage, maybe when you want to make smooth transitions or maybe just add some glaze of a color in there. When you do that, you just dip the tip of the brush in the paint before you stir it in. And remember, it's better to go with 2 thin coats over the miniature rather than going with 1 thick blob of paint. Because if you use a thick coat of paint, it's probably going to mess up some of that detail on your first miniature, and it's going to make the next few steps more difficult.
I also am so aware of this with nail painting. Like, thick blobs of paint are a no-go. No-go. Horrible. Horrible, horrible. GW wasn't the first one to do contrast style paint. They were just the first big hobby brand to do high flow translucent paints. I see. Makes sense. Huh. Okay, well, these nails are fun. They're different than what I normally do, but they're fun. Yeah, I guess before we start painting on Sunday, so I'm gonna move the painting stream to Sunday morning. Maybe I'd like to be live by like 9. Yeah. I'll do that Sunday morning. And maybe I'll start with trying to brush them off then.
If you paint with thinner paints and do 2 laps, Just remember to make sure that the paint has dried in between each of these 2 laps. Brush control is something that takes hours upon hours of practice to master. But if you learn to load up your brush properly, you're the first major step on the way there. Okay, so we're done with the base coats. One of the biggest mistakes a lot of beginners do is that they don't paint with clean layers. You need to make sure that the different paints are well separated and that you don't have greens where there should be reds and reds where there should be blues. And that each of your paint covers fully. You don't want your blues to look like half black, half blue. It's time to bring out the washes. A wash is pretty much a thin down paint with some flow aid in it. It seeps into all of the cracks and crevices on the miniature and often blends all of the colors together a little bit. Think of it sort of a dulling down filter. In this case, we're using non-oil and putting it on pretty much the entire miniature. This way we get blacks into some of the patterns on the gold. The scales will look a bit darker and we'll get some blacks in between each one of the scales. Once you get a bit more comfortable painting and reach a higher level and gain more control of your painting, I would recommend you to stop using washes as a crutch. But for beginner painters, it's awesome. Now it's time for something called dry brushing. You can grab an old hobby brush, pick up a makeup brush from dollar store, or use a more exclusive one like the Artist Opus one we're using today. We're going to mix the 2 paints that we used in the previous step. And mixing paints is really king. We then need to dry out most of the paint from the brush. Here we do it on a piece of MDF, but you can just as well do it on a piece of tissue or paper, until there's just a little bit of pigments releasing from the brush. We're then going to lightly stroke the scales on the back, and because the brush is so dry, it will only leave pigments on the most raised areas. This is a perfect technique to use for things like scales or stuff that has a very heavy texture. However, you don't want to dry brush things that's gonna have a smooth surface like skin, for example.
It's crazy. I don't know. I would not have thought of that kind of technique to like paint the base layer, put the oil wash over it, and then dry brush with that color over it again. Makes sense. Looks really cool, actually.
And I know there's a lot of tools mentioned in this video, but to make life easier for you as a beginner, I've listed all of that stuff on my website. And thanks to this week's sponsor, Squarespace, it was super easy for me to add all of the different products that we use on a daily basis. Like when I, for example, wanted to add this new wet palette, wrote whatever text I wanted to have, I just dragged an image there. You don't have to have any previous knowledge about how to make websites or programming. And if you want to build a website using award-winning templates, you can go to squarespace.com/squidmar and use the code squidmar to get 10% off your first purchase. And already at this stage, you could be happy with your miniature. But I want to challenge you to try something more and go one step further. Let's try to add some highlights. Because we shaded down pretty much the entire miniature with the wash we used, we can highlight back up again using the same color we used as our mid-tone. In this case, it's Zotic Green. This time we're using a little bit thin down color, not like a wash, not like a thick blob, somewhere in between. And then paint back in highlights on all of the places perpendicular to the sun, especially on any of the raised areas. And for this step, it's crucial to use a brush with a good tip. Don't have to stop there. We can make the miniature look even more three-dimensional by adding a second highlight. In this case, we got Temple Guard blue and mixing in a little bit of ivory or white on the wet palette. You don't want to take too big leaps between each highlight, but just going a small extra step really does go a long way. This time we're adding it to an even smaller surface and going even higher up on each of the different surfaces and shapes that the miniature have. On the top part of the muzzle, placing the highlights all the way up, and on the top edges of the scales, adding even more of a punch. You then want to do the same thing with all of the horns and the teeth, and take your time, don't stress this step, and remember to load your brush the way we mentioned earlier in this video. That is going to help you so much once you learn to just moisten the brush and then stir in the amount of paint you need to have without it becoming a thick blob or overfilled with too much water. And with that, you got a great looking first miniature.
All the scales and like skin nubs and everything look like they took so long. Good night, Roland. Thank you. Oil washes. No wash with non-oil are different. The less you apply, the smoother.
It's the idea and the principle that's important. Whether you're painting it green, blue, red or yellow, using Citadel, Vallejo or Scale 75 paints, it really doesn't matter. Instead, focus on trying the techniques, trying the brush loading, and just be brave, and you can improve for your coming 10-20 miniatures. If you go down the rabbit hole of contrast paints, things are going to be a lot easier for you, at least in the beginning. Contrast paints have this almost magic property where it does 3 things with one coat. As the paints are somewhat translucent and have an even lower viscosity than regular acrylics, the paints almost flows onto your miniatures, similar to what the washes do, where more of it collects in the cracks and crevices, and with the zenithal priming we did, we don't just get the mid-tone, we also get a natural shadow in all of the parts facing downwards, we also get separation between different body parts, and if we're using a brighter paint, we also get the first step of the highlight. This of course depends on which paint you're using. The darker ones doesn't give as much of a highlight, but with a paint like the Aethermatic Blue we're using as our main color on this miniature, it's definitely true. Because unlike with acrylics where you can go back and recover an area where you had paint spill over, with contrast paints, the previous layers will shine through your new one.
Right.
And as you can see, just with 3 contrast paints and the gold color, the miniature almost looks done already. So if you're just getting started, using these simple techniques to just do the base coats and painting the gold will make all of your miniatures look more than tabletop ready. But just like when we painted with acrylics, we can go further steps. Using a wet palette, we can mix together colors that looks very similar to the highlights that we have already on the miniature. In this case, we're using the Template Guard blue and some white. And then we're just adding the highlights exactly like in the previous step. And while we're doing that, let me thank all of the awesome people who support us on Patreon. These are the people that make sure that we can continue making these videos every month and have a salary to pick out from it. If you want to help out, check out the Patreon link down in the video description. Special thanks to the top donors. And with the final highlight in place, we have another awesome looking miniature. Which one of the two do you prefer? I think for beginners, the contrast paints is probably the way to go. And then when you have a little bit of experience trying out, seeing how much paint you need to add, you can start working more with acrylics, as they both complement each other incredibly well.
I love the gold. I love blue and gold. I probably took them less than an hour. It's crazy because there's so much detail. Might need to paint 30 of them. Well, luckily I'm just painting for fun, so I don't need to worry about it. Alright, I'm already tired. I kind of don't want to... Well, I mean...
So I hope this video gave you some courage to try out and paint your first ever miniature. And don't forget to subscribe and check out some more videos on this channel if you want to take this journey another step and become even better and be more brave with painting. And don't forget this week's sponsor, Squarespace, and use the code SQUIDMAR if you want 10% off your first purchase. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Squidmar. Okay. I feel more confident for Sunday morning. I feel more confident. But I am tired, so I want to do my top coat and go to bed. I have to get up early because I'm going to an event tomorrow. I don't want to tell you guys about it yet, but I'm going to an event tomorrow, and I'll tell you about it later. But yeah, I am just tired. I don't really have the energy to raid anyone, so I think we're just gonna end stream. But we won't be here Sunday. That's okay. I'll make sure to have the VOD up for you guys. So yeah, it's 11:30. I'm tired. Okay, guys, thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for refreshing my memory, learning with me. I'll see you guys Sunday morning. I'll post about it, and I'm sure I'll go into the afternoon. It'll probably be like a 4+ hour stream. But yeah, I'll see you guys then. Make sure to take care of yourself, drink plenty of water. Have a good night or day, and I will see you Sunday. O yasumi mata ne. Bye guys. Bye.
The friendly neighborhood ghost here to check in on all the lovely souls under her possession, hoping to give herself a taste of what it's like to